Hello, League City. I'm Sarah Osborne, and I'm here with Mayor Nick Long for another short talk with Mayor Long. And today we're going to talk about, of all things, boats.
Yeah, we just had a workshop earlier this week, and all things boats were discussed. And so, one of the great parts about living in League City is our access to the water, one of the largest recreational ports in the United States, the general Clear Lake area. But there's some negative parts that come up with that. And really what we talked about were two different things. First of all, we talked about our Liveaboard policy. So this is people that live on their boats. And then the other side of it was abandoned boats. And I'll start with the Liveaboard part. So over the past couple of years, there's been some fairly high profile crimes that have taken place in the marinas. We had a murder, we had several drug incidents and stuff like that. And so we started digging in deeper and really investigating what the issues were. And frankly, what we saw was a little bit alarming. And so in most of League City, if you go and you try to rent a house, we're going to make sure that that house lives up to a certain amount of standards, right? You can't live in a house that would be condemned. In some of these marinas and some of the issues we've seen, some of these watercraft are very, very unsafe. They're completely unregulated. They're environmental hazards, leaking all kinds of oils and fluids into the waterways, and they're frankly not safe to live in. On the other side of the coin, of course, there are other marinas in town that do a great job. They're highly regulated. The people that go there for the weekend are really not a problem. So we're kind of launching into this discussion to make sure that we are putting people in safe places, that we're not putting people in places that will lead to crime or lead to or other environmental hazards. And so the workshop was really to discuss the first of its kind of set of ordinances to regulate that side of it.
But it also had to deal with abandoned boats as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the abandoned boat issue is, I grew up here and I spent a lot of time on the lake growing up. It has gotten much, much worse. We actually went and did a survey of the lake, and there was, I think, 23 to 25 abandoned boats.
Wow.
Some of which had completely sunk.
Oh my gosh. And the lake's not even that deep.
No, it is not that deep. And that's actually part of the problem. So when these boats sink, and they can sink in various places of the lake, and of course the lake is tidal, at some points the boats are fully submerged, and at other points they're not. And of course at night or in bad weather, or if you just can't see that well or don't know the lake that well, that presents an extreme hazard to boaters hitting a submerged boat. It also has, dire environmental consequences. They're leaking gas, they're leaking oil, they're doing all things like that. And then on top of it, the other boats that are in some stage of sinking during a storm, those can, of course, wash into bulkheads, wash into bridges, do things like that, causing even more damage to our infrastructure and to people's houses. And we need to get ahead of this. And so we're looking at a registration process for the marinas, looking at a variety of ways we can get ahead of this. Normally, the GLO, the General Land Office, is who you would go through for these. However, they don't have any money. They don't have any cash to actually help us remove these boats. And if a boat sinks into the mud, and if it's a fairly large vessel or a sailboat, they present different challenges. It can cost as much as $20,000 to remove each of these boats. Wow. And so we're looking at how do we get ahead of this? And it's obviously easier to remove these boats before they sink than it is to wait till after they sink. And then it takes a variety of equipment and really outsourcing it to get these boats off the bottom of the lake.
So first steps, obviously we're in the beginning stages of this. What's next, or what does the process look like, do you think?
Yeah, another kind of challenge, right, is that there's 8 different cities that have access to the lake. And just because a boat sinks in the Kemah part of the lake doesn't mean one storm won't push it into the League City part or vice versa. And so we have to work across Galveston and Harris County and with our other cities to create a uniform set of regulations. And really, League City, as being the largest city that has the presence on the lake, we're taking the first step. And now once we get the ordinance to a place that we feel good about it, we will work with the other cities, and we've already been in contact with the mayors of those other cities and the councils to discuss creating this uniform set of regulations so that we can get ahead of this problem before the next storm.
League City leading the way again.
Absolutely, and glad to do it.
Well, thanks for joining us today for another Shore Talk with Mayor Nick Long, and thank you as well.
Thanks.